Well, I'm here with Nakisa Bidarian. It's been a big, fulsome week. It's weigh-in morning, so they're all making that weight before the ceremonials later on. What did you make of the press conference yesterday? I thought Jake and Anthony really kind of elevated things and what was a big cast list up there at the Fillmore.
I think the best part of that press conference is when Jake said, boxing should be supporting me to get this win. I am the one he said I've done more than anyone in the past 10 years. Obviously, he hasn't been boxing for 10 years, but we've done a phenomenal job of disrupting the sport, and that's led by him. What you saw on that stage yesterday was because of him. Boxing on Netflix is because of him. The reinvigoration of women's boxing is because of him. There's obviously the team around him, but he is the face of that. So that was the most telling moment of the press conference to me.
I think it's starting to dawn on people, Nakisa, that this Netflix project is enormous. The link up between you guys and Jake and Netflix is actually transforming the ecosystem of how people watch sports, of how things are going to be streamed in the future.
They were visionary enough to come to us and say, would you guys be open to this? We, of course, loved it. And the ability to be on a single platform globally at one specific time is extremely powerful for any piece of live content. And so we're privileged to do it. That doesn't mean traditional boxing goes away from cable. It doesn't mean pay-per-view goes away. I made this example the other night. There's still massive movies at the box office that are not on streaming because there's these special moments that can justify either being on Netflix live.
Live is the thing, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Or a movie that can be at the box office. Same for pay-per-view.
Go-to programming, the biggest app in the world, and advertising. Those are the three target things, really, aren't they?
They are. I mean, look, the biggest app in the world is YouTube, right? That's the number one place that people go to consume content. And to me, Netflix is competing with YouTube more than anyone else. But Netflix is it's a special platform, and we're honored that they have taken the time to invest in boxing.
Now, your mate Eddie Hearn has been saying in the build-up this is a huge mismatch and maybe shouldn't be happening, but they're happy it is. What's your response?
Look, I think they have to believe it's a mismatch, and on paper, I can understand people believing that. I can also understand Jake Paul, the delusional optimist that he is, who has used his mind and manifestation to get to this point, knowing that he can do what no one else thinks he can.
What did you make of Anthony Joshua's demeanour yesterday in his words, where he actually talked about a loss and said, if I lose, I can still headline? Did that give something away to you that maybe Jake's got into his head a little bit?
Gareth, I tell you, on the drive here with my team, I said exactly that. I said it was so interesting to me because you saw different shades of AJ throughout that press conference. Times there was extreme confidence. Times there was a bit aloof. Times there was saying, if I lose, no problem. I come back a year later, I'll headline again. Then he was trying to grab Jake's necklace. So it was really a up and down demeanor from him that was, psychoanalysis-wise interesting to see.
You guys are winners already, as you just said at the beginning of this interview, that you've transformed but all of you working together transformed women's boxing as well at the moment and the way things are being done. What's a victory for Jake? Is a win over AJ the only victory, or is it going 8 rounds of victory, or is knocking AJ down but not beating him a victory? What's a victory for him?
We already won. We're already victorious. We were in this business for 4 years, and we're standing here with you and all of this media with no backing, no funding. It's Jake and I. I always make this example. The UFC is phenomenal, but you had Lorenzo Fertitta and Frank Fertitta, multi-billionaires, backing that operation to get where it got to. Jake and I have done this on our own. We won. It's over.
Who's done more for boxing in the last 5 years? Anthony Joshua or Jake Paul?
Unequivocally, Jake Paul has done more for boxing than Anthony Joshua. That is not in question. The only person who's made an impact like Jake Paul on the sport of boxing over the past 5 years is Turki Alalshikh. All of these promoters, Eddie included, have to be thankful to Jake Paul and Turki Alalshikh for providing these massive opportunities.
If the biblical does happen tomorrow night and David beats Goliath, because we think it might be a biblical event if he does, what does Jake do next? Does he call out Tyson Fury and say, your brother beat me, I'm getting revenge over the family by fighting Tyson Fury? Does he call out Alexander Usyk for an MMA match? Does he transcend from where he is to a greater kind of plane and fight the biggest names ever in the heavyweight division in this era? What does he do, in your view?
I honestly think we just have to take a little bit of time off, right? Reassess and determine what's the right strategy for the next 3 years. It should never be about the next fight. And if you look at Anthony Joshua, that was a plan for 2026 that we had starting in April, right? So this was a curveball, an audible. Once we get through this audible, we'll determine what the future looks like. Tyson Fury, to me, is just comedic. Retired one day, back the next. Jake's knocking him out. Oh, AJ, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'll knock you out. It's all very comedic to me.
Would we ever see you take on Eddie Hearn in, say, 3 2-minute, 4 2-minute rounds on an undercard on one of the big events? Because that would do big numbers. Come on, Nakisa. Look at you, took your glasses
My
off.
nose has been broken a few times because I grew up very different than Eddie Hearn.
Ooh, okay.
I grew up with no money.
Fighting talk now, yeah?
No, I grew up with no money. I grew up in a rough environment with a single mom, and we didn't have much. I worked my ass off to get somewhere, and I'm not going to be fighting again. I'm going to provide amazing moments for fighters to disrupt, elevate, and be successful.
And finally, in 2026, we're going to see, we've had, I think, 4 Netflix events in 13 months. How many are you scheduled to do next year? Can you reveal?
We did one event in 2024. Everyone said, what's next? I said, let's get through the first one, proof of concept. Proof of concept worked. It was 125 million people that watched in one day. Then they said, are they going to do more? I said, yeah, the proof of concept worked. They will do more. But we need to see if that was an anomaly or not, right? Taylor Serrano 3, 6 million viewers.
Yep.
Some people were like, oh, that wasn't Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. But that was bigger than the Stanley Cup in the U.S. That was bigger than the French Open, Wimbledon, the U.S. Open. It was a massive number. Then you look at Canelo Crawford, another massively successful event, right? Top 10 viewership of the year in sports in the U.S. If this one works as well, which I 100% believe it will, I expect Netflix will want to do a more strategic long-term play into boxing, but I don't know that to be fact.
You've got a great energy about you. You're a very articulate person. Are you enjoying this journey as well as disruptors? You've been in the industry a long time, but it's always interesting being around you guys because it's so different to anything we're used to.
I'm enjoying making an impact on the sport. I said this to the BBC earlier.
Our rivals.
Give
us a new line, please. We don't mind going second on this.
I've been very happy with how my career has progressed personally, but nothing is more satisfying than the impact we've had for women in the sport. That's what I'm most proud of. That's what I enjoy most. I don't enjoy doing these interviews. Jake Paul asked me 6 months ago to get more actively involved in being front and center for MVP. So when he's going through these camps, he can focus on fighting. And that's why I've done it. Boxing is a fragmented, oftentimes dirty business. It is not the world that I worked my ass off to get into, which was Wall Street and investing. But that's why we're able to disrupt, because the level of sophistication isn't that high. The treatment of fighters isn't that great. And we've come to the table and said, we're fighter first. I'm not trying to make the most money. I'm trying not to lose money, but I want to put everything into the show. Look at our showcase event in New York at the Oculus. Look at what you saw on Tuesday night here at Live. Look at the way the press conference yesterday. Wait till you see the press conference, the weigh-in today, and what we have planned.
Well, it's not a bad little setting for the actual weigh-ins this morning. We couldn't believe it. The ring outside, the walk-in with all the branding. It is pretty awesome.
It's all about building a brand that represents the best in boxing and giving fighters the vast majority of the revenue and profits that we generate.
You stimulated me to ask one more question when you were explaining about enjoying being in it. How do you see? I'm not up on your view on this. How do you see boxing in America with Turki Alalshikh, Dana White, and TKO? Have they got a long journey ahead of them, or do you think they'll throw money into it and build it from the top down as well as the bottom up? How do you see their journey?
So one, Turkey's journey has already been extremely impressive because he's come to it with hundreds, if not billions of dollars and disrupted in his own right. So you have to give him that. Zuffa boxing is really about what TKO brings to the table and their ability to use that ecosystem to drive boxing. And I'm all for that if it's better for the fighters. UFC is the best promotional entity in the history, current, and future of fight sports. Nothing can replicate it, right? We're 4 years in. We're trying to learn and continue to grow. I had the benefit of being there. My only issue with Zuffa boxing is my same issue with UFC. And I was there, I was the CFO, so I saw it. I didn't put my hand up and yell about it then. I still don't yell about it enough. Jake has for a long time. Pay the fighters the fair share. I think everything they're doing is great, like in terms of trying to bring more systematic organization, process to the sport. But just commit to paying the fighters the lion's share of the revenue, just like every other ball and stick sport does that's meaningful in this ecosystem, and you can still have billions and billions of dollars of value. All of the NBA teams, EPL teams, NFL teams are worth 6, 8, 12, 15 billion dollars. And those athletes are the best in the world because they know when they come into that system, they're going to get what they deserve. They're the IP. They're the one putting their life, their performance on the line. So if Zuffa Boxing said, hey, forever hold, we're going to guarantee at least 50% of revenues to the fighters, I would probably put my pencil down and say, hey,
they're done.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Let Zuffa run this. By the way, here, you see all these women we've put together? Let's figure out how they fight for Zuffa. But that's not who they are. They can lie, they can look at the camera and say, we take care of fighters, oh, don't read the press. You've lost a lawsuit for $300+ million. There's another multi-hundred million, billion-dollar lawsuit against you for not paying fighters fairly. And you're never gonna do it unless you agree to do it. Lawrence Epstein, love that man. They asked him the question at that committee, what percentage of revenue is going to fighters? We can't answer that right now. Of course you can. Set a mark, commit to it, deliver. That's it.
I'll just end on a happier note. What was the first thing Jake Paul said to you when you spoke to him this morning?
I haven't spoken to Jake Paul.
Well, that's fair enough. We'll leave it for later on then. We appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Always appreciate your words.
Well,
Thank you. Thanks.